Hey, what is up, you guys? If you are new here, I'm Anna. I'm Caitlin. And welcome to Gingy Nation. So today, as you can tell by the spooky setup, we're going to be talking about scary encounters that we've had or stories that we've heard from. Mm-hmm. And we have 3 stories each. We're going to go back and forth and kind of just talk about this. It's a little creepy because it is 3 in the morning, and it's called the what?
The witching hour.
The witching hour. I don't really believe in that. It is creepy, but...
Yeah, it's creepy to think about, but it's not really something I truly believe. I was like, plus to the house of the Lord, so...
Yes.
Jesus protect us. Okay, so if you have been with us since the beginning, in my 15 facts video, I believe, I talk about how, you know, me and Anna both have a love for scary movies. The only scary movie I will not watch is Chucky. And I know...
I love Chucky.
Yeah, I know everyone loves Chucky, and I was like, I know it's not really terror or like a horror type of movie. It's more like kind of like a parody on things. Like, it's still scary, but like...
It's still scary. It's creepy.
It's still scary, but it's
no one
more
wants
like...
freaking crazy ass dolls, you know.
Yeah, but like for me...
Attacking you.
For me, I cannot watch it because of an encounter I had when I was younger. Mm. So, I can't exactly remember what age I was, but I was pretty, like, very young. And there was one night where my father and my brother wanted to just like have like a movie night with us 3. You know, my mom was staying with my little sister in the room. You know, she was very, very young.
She couldn't watch it.
She could not watch it. So we were just all in the living room, and we were going to end up just like staying the night in the living room, laying with each other. And the movie that they put on was Chucky. And I can't remember most of the movie, but I just know that I was scared, you know, because I was very young. I didn't know what was on the screen.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that I was watching a horror movie. So then during the night, I was laying next to my dad and my brother was in front of him. So I was on the edge towards the couch. So I was facing the window basically. So I had heard something in the kitchen. And the way my house was set up in that time was like you have the living room and it's just like an open space like right next to the kitchen. So like you can clearly see into the kitchen. So I had woken up during the night because I had heard something. And you know, obviously it's very dark, so it's already a very scary feeling. And I turned to the kitchen and I'm hearing something and I'm just like what's going on? And I didn't want to get up, you know, because I was very scared. So I just kept like looking, and I kind of like whispered because I was afraid of something was gonna pop out. So I basically said like, who is there? Who is there? And I just see a shadow come out from the corner, and I got really, really scared because I don't think it saw me. And in that moment, I was so terrified, I just yelled, and I basically said, like, what are you doing? Like, get out of my house. And it, like, after I said those words, I immediately just fainted. Like, I felt all of my energy, like, completely drained. Like, I just felt myself, like, black out. And the next thing I know, I'm being, like, woken up by my father, and he's shaking me. He's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I told him, I was like, what happened? He was like, you were screaming, like, what's wrong? You were yelling. And I was like, there's someone in the kitchen, like there's someone here in the house. And he got up, freaked out, you know, ready to hit someone,
like
and
every protective dad.
And he goes to the kitchen, and I tell him where I saw it, and there was nothing there. So ever since then, I have not watched a Chucky movie ever, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, and I personally love Chucky. I never suggested when we're together because I know how it affects her. But I love it. It's never affected me. It's one of my favorites, especially Seed of Chucky. It's so freaking funny. But again, that's just me.
But that was like one of my first real encounters. Yeah. So,
all right, I guess it's my turn. So this one wasn't so much mine just yet. I will talk about mine. But this one was more about my parents. So when I was young, I would say like maybe 10, 12, we had a trampoline outside, and I used to jump on that trampoline every single day. There was never a day that went by that I didn't jump, unless it was like raining. But even then, like after it rained, I jumped. I love trampolines, always loved them. When I got it, I was so excited, I was so happy. And there was times where I would even sneak out at night to go jump on it because I just wanted to go jump on my trampoline. And I remember my mom the next morning, you know, coming into my room kind of like, hey, were you jumping on the trampoline last night again or something? And I was like, no, I was asleep, Mom, like I swear. And I asked her, you know, like why? And she was like, because, you know, your dad and I, you know, we heard someone jumping on the trampoline. My sisters are older. At the time, they were even older than I was. So they didn't care about the trampoline, so they never jumped on it. It was literally me and maybe the next door neighbor, but my sisters never jumped on the trampoline, so it couldn't have been them. And I remember just thinking, like, well, who would jump on a trampoline past midnight? Like, that's just kind of weird, unless it was me, but it wasn't. And I went into my mom's room, and right by her window is the trampoline, and she said that she heard someone jumping, like, really hard where the springs, you can just hear it. And my dad was kind of like, yeah, we heard it, like, it was really loud, we thought it was you. And they kind of heard, like, someone, like, even, like, not talking, but, like, mumbling outside, like, if they were having fun. And it was the scariest thing ever. I mean, granted, I continued to jump on it because I think it was sweated at the time, you know. But it was so scary because I'm like, who would jump on a trampoline at that time? And to this day, we'll never know. They never heard it the next, you know, after that, that was it. They only heard it once. But it was really creepy because, I mean, you know, if you're asleep, half asleep, and then you hear outside someone jumping on your trampoline, that's just weird. Unless it was my neighbor, but I doubt she was up at that time. But yeah, that's the encounter my parents had. Kind of starting off slow. So yeah, that's mine.
So my next like ghost encounter happened when I was in middle school. So I don't know if you guys ever had this type of program, but here where I live, in the school that I went to, if you weren't picked up at a certain time, then you had to be put in this program to where, like, you know, you're watched by the teachers and you wait till you get picked up, you know, because there is a certain time to where they do close the doors to the front of the school. So I was involved in choir, so being in choir, you kind of had days where you had to be, like, there after school, so it was good that we had the program. So one day, I was there with two of my good friends, and it was just like a normal day. We were out like side playing in the playground, or not the playground, but like playing by the track, and we had to go to the restroom. So we decided to go in the restroom that was in the gym. So we went to the girls' locker room because there wasn't just like a normal restroom.
Yeah.
So we went to the girls' locker room, and you know, everything was okay. Like, we were just talking, whatever, and we're each taking turns because there's only like 2 restrooms in there, and one of the stalls is broken, so we had to like take turns. And you know, right next to the restrooms are the showers, the girls' showers. So it's more like a locker room for like the athletes or whatever. So I was going to the restroom, and I could hear my 2 friends talking, and they were in the restroom with me. And then they just decided to walk around because we kept hearing like water or like noises, like a laughing. So we kind of freaked out. I was like, okay, who's in here? So I came out of the restroom, and my friend went into the restroom after me. And I went looking into the showers with my other friend because we were like, what the heck is going on? And we were checking every shower, like making sure like if there was anyone in there. And there was absolutely no one in the restroom. And in one of the showers, there was just like roots coming out from like below, like the drain. And like there was just like roots coming out of the drain. So that already like freaked us. I was like, okay, why is there like roots coming out of like a shower? Like, we use these showers, like why? Like, someone needs to work on this here.
Where's the maintenance man?
So as we were telling my friend when she came out of the restroom about what happened, we heard laughing again, and we heard water running. And after that, like, we just bolted out. Like, we were so scared because there was literally no one else in the gym but us 3. Like, we know that. We checked the whole gym itself. We checked the whole locker room. Like, there was no one in there but us 3. And the fact that we heard laughing freaked us out so much. So, you know, after that, I got picked up, and you know, it was around the time of like Halloween, so I was looking up like scary stuff, and I was trying to see if there's like any haunted places in the town that I live in. And it turns out that my middle school is actually known to be haunted, and it talks about how a girl, you know, passed away in the locker rooms, and how there's 2 little girls that roam like the 2nd floor. And like the moment I saw that article, I like, my heart like dropped. I was like, oh my god, did we really encounter a ghost? Like, that freaked me out so much, and it still freaks me out today. Like, you just always felt like I always felt like an eerie feeling afterwards after that. So that was what really freaked me out that day.
Alright, that's creepy. Don't ever tell me that again. Kidding. Alright, my next one.
I always have to observe the restrooms that you go into afterwards.
Alright, my next one is about, this one actually happened to me. me and my friend at the time, we were probably in middle school, and so down her block is an abandoned home, but you can't trespass. Like, it had like no trespassing, everything, but it was abandoned. No one had been living there for like maybe over a year now. The people that lived there before, they moved out. They didn't really say why. They were kind of they kept it to themselves. And behind that house was a cornfield, so it's all just field. Yeah, so it's a cornfield. And well, we didn't think about it much, and well, we were kids. We wanted to know what this house looked like. It's obviously illegal. Don't do that ever. I don't.
Better like Rebel.
She was a bad influence. I'm just kidding. No. So we were bored, and then we said, and this happened during the day. It did not happen at night. It was during the day, and mostly and it happened also during the week. So a lot of people are at work during the week. It's really rare that people are even home, around the time where we were out. We decided to, play hooky and skip school. And we were like, let's go, look in this abandoned house, see what we can find, just be rebellious kids. And we went into the house, and just walking up to the house was creepy. It didn't have a gate, but it had like a sign just said no trespassing. You walk in, and it's like a small house, but it's the way you see it inside, so you're like, wow, it's huge. And it was all empty. There was like floorboards of wood just broken everywhere. It was really creepy. And every step you take every step you take is just like, it creaks and everything, so you're kind of like, whoa, creepy. And we go into the back room, and there was like, I guess there must have been already people have already raided this place, because there was like spray paint all over the walls, and there was a little kind of like symbol, like the star symbol or whatever, and it looked pretty creepy, but we didn't think about it much. We were young, we were like, whatever, people are over here like spray painting this thing. And but we knew we were the only ones in there. You can just, well, we were in the back room, and well, there's no curtains. It's an abandoned house. The windows are clear, so you could see outside. Remember, this during the day. And my friend, she turned around towards the window, and she said she saw something pass by the window, and it was the creepiest thing she ever said that she saw. And I didn't believe her, because I thought, she's just messing with me. She's trying to scare me. Like, no. Right? So I was like, she's just messing with me. So I told her, okay, well, let's go. And so then we were walking out, and then I saw it. So where we were walking out, there's a kitchen before you get to the living room, and then the front door. Right where the kitchen is, there's a window, and then I saw something pass by. And I got so scared, like I wanted to cry. And I'm thinking, like, either someone's spying on us, trying to mess with us, or there's something really like out there. Or maybe something happened in this house that we don't know about. These people just got up and then left this house abandoned. We don't know what happened. So then, by the way, I don't think I told you this, right? Sorry. So this is the first time Caitlin's hearing the story too. So then, like, we got so freaked out, we decided to just bolt it. And we ran back to her house. We were so scared. We locked the doors, windows, and everything. And then, like, it got night, and her mom actually worked late at the time. So we were really scared. And then she, for some reason, decides we should go back to the house. And I don't know why, but I said, okay, let's do it. And
they're like stupid.
Yes, very stupid. I would not recommend anybody doing that. And we took one flashlight that was very dim, because for some reason it just wasn't working. And we went back to the house. We were so scared to go in, but then while we were walking, where she was flashing the flashlight, she kind of flashed it towards the back, which is the cornfield, and we had seen something like move the cornfield. Like, we saw it like move. Like, cornfields are still, so when something passes by, it moves. So I'm thinking, like, something or someone is behind that thing. And we got to the front, and we saw that there was mail, like, I guess old mail that they must have left or whatever. And she looks at it, and it was from some company or whatever, and it's at the name, but we're like, okay, whatever. We didn't think much of it. And then on the back, it literally says, "Do not enter, beware." And we were like, whoa, no. And like, we just took off. We went back home. We don't ever know what happened. We don't ever know if someone ever was spying on us or what. We never will know. To this day, I never will know. And the house did get demolished, and did someone else rebuilt it. They bought land, and it's different now. There's a family that lives there, but to this day, I have no idea what went down that night, and it creeps me out so much because sometimes I'm home alone, and when I see something past the window, it just reminds me of that time, and I'm thinking, no. And down the street where I live, there's a cornfield, so I'm like, no, you know? So it does freak me out every time I think about it, and I don't think I'll ever go into an abandoned house, at least without not a camera. Better like views. Yeah, so that's what happened to me and my friend. By the way, again, this is the first time Caitlin heard this story too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Caitlin.
Alright, Caitlin, your turn.
Okay, so the next story, it's not gonna be in parts, but there are gonna be different elements to the story, like different encounters. I'm not gonna say everything about it because it is very personal, and it did not only happen to me, it happened to a lot of people that I care about, so I'm not gonna go into depth about what happened. So,
by the way, we're not using any names.
Yeah.
Who they were, why, or what. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep that private because, again, some of that stuff was part of their stories, and that's not our thing to tell.
Yeah.
This is just what we've experienced.
Okay, so
I've interrupted you so many times. I'm sorry.
You're
Such a jerk.
You're right. Okay, so basically, a couple years back, I lived in this house. And at the time when we moved in, it wasn't, anywhere where we felt like it was, like, scary.
Yeah.
We felt very, like, open, like we had a house. So everything was okay the first couple, like, months that we were there. And I like to do a lot of adventuring at the time when I was younger. Just because it was kind of like a big land. Like, we had, like, a big front yard. There's, like, big trees. We had a big backyard that led to, like, an alley or whatever. So it was a lot of, like, exploring to do. And the way the house is set up is if you have a house, you have the big house, and then you have another little building where we call that is like the garage or whatever, and they also have like a top attic. And then what we thought was kind of weird was like in the back of that was another like house, another little house, but we never really stepped close to that area because we're like, that doesn't belong to us, or like we have no interest in dealing with it. Okay. Yeah, there's no point in dealing with the little house. So one day I was doing, just playing around in the yard with my family, and I just decided to go by myself and just started walking around, and my dumb self went to go investigate the little house.
Curiosity killed the cat,
Yeah, so right when you were kind of already walking up to it, you felt very uneasy. Just the whole outlook of it all was very creepy. Like the painting on the outside was already like, tearing off, was already warping away. And you would get to the door and I don't know, you just felt very uneasy. We didn't open it. We never went inside. But we did look through the windows, and we're looking around the house. It looks pretty, sane. It looks like just a regular little house till you got to the living room. And right when there's a living room, there's like a window, and you turn your head to like the left and you would see the living room, and it looked like a pretty big living room. And in the middle of the living room was a tub, just a regular tub in the living room. So that kind of freaked us out. And when you kind of like peered your head a little bit closer, you were just like, why is there like a tub in the middle of the living room? Like, who would do that?
Who would do that?
So after that, we decided to I decided to go back to my family. A couple of days had passed, and our landlord came one day.
And that literally sounded like you said our land and lord.
No, our landlord came one day and he gave us keys, and I guess he was gonna try and go check out the back house for something. And so I went with my family, and they opened the door, and like the moment you walked in, you saw like broken glass, like almost everywhere. Like there was broken glass everywhere. And I was like, okay, why is there broken glass? Like none of the windows were broken. That's the thing about it. Like none of the windows were broken. So I was like,
there was just broken glass.
Yeah, so like did someone break something in here? We didn't know. And the tub was still there. So my family went off with the landlord to one side, and I decided to go to the tub by myself.
Be curious.
Yeah. And when I peered inside, there looked to be blood inside the tub. And I was really hoping it was paint, but it really, really looked like, I know what paint looks like, and I know
that's the thing. People are gonna be like, well, how do you know it's blood? Guys, you can tell what blood looks like. You can tell what paint looks like. It's very pigmented. It's different colors. Like, you know what paint is. She saw blood, let's be honest here.
The tub itself was very warped. It just looked really dirty, and like you saw the streak of blood, and then there's a little bit of glass in there, so I was like, what the heck happened in here? And after I saw that, I did not want to go back in the house. I left the house. I just went back to my house. And after that, just things started going very, very wrong. There was a lot of more just eeriness in the house itself. You felt like you were constantly being watched, like you didn't want to be left alone. Where I slept,
it's kind of like if you opened a door that you shouldn't have.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. And I feel like that just opened everything, because everything was like very calm.
Yeah.
So just opening up that house made it worse. So after that, things were very eerie. You would hear noises throughout the house, especially when I was sleeping. During that time, I would sleep closest to my kitchen. So, and in the kitchen, we had wooden floor. So you would hear when someone would be walking on it. Yeah. And during the night, I would hear a lot of creaking, and that would just scare me to death. And I would literally just try and knock myself out, but I could not fall asleep. Just everything about that house itself was just very, 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 very scary. And towards the end, I just felt like it kept getting worse. Like, I just literally did not feel safe in my own house, which made it even worse. Luckily, we decided to move, and I would never want to go back to the house, because a lot of things happened that like I said before, I'm not going to speak about, because it does involve other people, and I do want to respect their privacy and what they went through. But I would never go back to the house. I don't want to ever step back in there.
Does someone live there now?
People live there now.
Yeah. And
that's what freaks me out the most. Like, we can drive by it and there's people still living there. I was like, I don't know how they're doing it. Like, I really don't.
That's scary. Alright, this is my last one, just because other ones I can't talk about. So this is my last one, and this one does also involve me and my sister. So, mostly me though. For some reason, it just followed me around. And it wasn't so much like I saw something, but certain things happened. So basically, my room is right next door to my sister's room, and it's also right next door to my other sister's room. Mine's right in the middle. Right in front of my room is the kitchen. Right in front of my other sister's room is the living room. All connects. It's not too hard to think about. And, well, my TV is broken, and so at the time, I kind of just used my sister's TV, and we're into this show, and it started really late, so I kind of had to go to her room to go watch it. And at the time, my other sister was in school, in college, so she always slept early. And, well, the show that we were watching, it ended. We had watched the last show time of that show, so it was past maybe midnight. And right before this show ended, my mom, right before bed, she always checks the front door to make sure it's locked, make sure everything's like off, the AC stuff, like just make sure everything's off before she goes to bed. So she went to go check the front door. She checked on us, and she was like, all right, well, make sure you guys don't sleep too late, whatever. And, you know, she has to pass, there's the door, the living room, kitchen, hallway, room. She has to pass all that. So everything she probably like walked through was probably already calm. So she went to bed, show finished. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to bed. I closed my sister's door, and I hear water, and I'm like, where the heck is this water coming from? And I turn on the kitchen light, and the faucet water is on, and the water is all the way to the top, and I'm thinking, what is going on, you know?
Turn off the water.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, maybe my mom didn't hear it. I don't know, whatever. So I didn't think about it too much. So then I turned off the water, and I take off the plug or whatever the thing is so it could drain. And I put it right next to the sink on the counter. So then I was going to go to the restroom before bed, and I didn't think about it much because I was like, okay, whatever, someone left the faucet water on. I go to the restroom. As I come back out, the plug is back in the sink, and that just freaked me out. I'm like, if it were to have fallen, okay, maybe, but I placed it where it won't like go back onto it. It got back onto it, so the water wasn't going anywhere anymore. So I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on, whatever. I'm trying not to scare myself because I am gonna go to bed by myself. I don't want to freak myself out, so I didn't think too much of it. So I said, okay, whatever. So I took it off again. I waited, went down, I went to bed. Next day is when it got really creepy. And I had told my sister, you know, the night before what happened. She was kind of like, that's creepy, that's weird. Like, after that, we both just felt very eerie and just uneasy. And that night, I couldn't sleep. It was very hard to go to sleep. But somehow, I fell asleep. Next morning, I woke up. And like I said, my other sister at the time was in college. So everyone goes to work. She was in college. That day, I stayed home alone that day. And it was very scary. I still woke up very uneasy. And then, well, when I woke up, I went straight to the restroom. When I got out, my sister's door was closed. And I heard noises, like stuff moving around. And I thought, maybe she's back from her lunch break, or maybe she just didn't have a class today. I don't know. I didn't think about it too much. Went back to my room, and as I'm laying down, I get a text message from my sister, and she says, hey, can you turn my AC on? Because I'm going over there in a little bit for lunch, and I don't want my room to be too hot. I'm like, you're not even home? Like, I'm thinking she's in the other room making a mess or something, or doing something. I'm like, you're not home? She's like, no, I'm about to leave campus and go home for lunch. And I'm thinking, who's in the room? You know? So I'm freaking out. I didn't want to leave the room. My dog is usually in the room, and she usually barks if she hears noises or someone comes in. But she wasn't barking, so I didn't think too much of it. And she's very alert. She knows when there's a stranger in the house or stranger nearby. Like, she's very alert, and she'll bite them. Like, she's crazy. And so I didn't think too much of it. I didn't think someone was in, but I did feel something was there. So I go to the kitchen. I grab a knife. I was very scared. I slowly go to her room, and I open it, and I don't see anything there. I don't see anything. I don't hear anything else. And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe it was our cat. The cat must have gone in here, maybe messing around. So then I go back to my room. I grab my dog, and I take her outside so that she can go do her business, go run around. And as I'm outside, I see our cats. Both cats that we own are outside. So no cat was in my sister's room doing something. That's where I'm starting to freak out even more. I'm like, I'm hearing noises in the room. She's not there. The cat's not doing it. The dog's outside. What's going on? So I'm freaking out, but I try not to freak out too much. So then go inside. I'm just there watching TV. My sister gets home from school. She goes into her room to go take a nap for her lunch break or whatever. And when she came home, she closed the door. I'm in the living room. The door's right behind me. It's closed. I know it's closed. I heard it close. Okay? I'm watching TV for about an hour or so. And then I get up to go to the kitchen. I don't remember what I was doing. I remember getting up, though. When I turn around and look behind me, the front door is cracked open. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, there's like all these weird things going on in the house. I'm the only one experiencing them. Like, I don't know, it's freaking me out. I'm the type of person that I try not to think about too much because then it's going to freak me out and I don't want to feel uneasy. But I was very uneasy that day. Those first 24 hours, I was just freaked out. Then, I got a burp. Excuse me. So then, you know, I close the door, I lock it. I just was not having it. I told my sister, she was like, that's weird, that's crazy. I told my mom, she finally decided to just bless the house. House was blessed the next night that night, and I didn't feel anything else anymore. I was able to sleep fine. It was so weird. Like, okay, maybe she didn't close the door right, fine. But the room, the water, like, certain things you just know that it couldn't happen physically. Like, by physics, it just couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that just doesn't happen. So it did really freak me out.
Oh, I would have been terrified.
It was very scary.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Okay, so this is the last story. This story doesn't involve me, but it does involve someone I know.
Yeah.
And I've been to the house, so I know kind of like the feeling of it, because that house that I stayed in was very eerie. you know, I would stay there at night and you would just feel very unsafe. You know, you just felt like you had to be on your toes.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so we're gonna name the person Sally. Sally's gonna be her name, just because I don't want to go over like any boundaries if they don't want the story being told.
Sally Sandra.
Yeah. So Sally came over to my house one time, you know, for a sleepover, and we were telling each other like ghost stories or whatever. And she had told me about an encounter that she had at her house. So one night, Sally was with her sister, and where their house was, you know, it was a very like quiet place. Like there wasn't many neighbors. It was just like they had one neighbor on this side and they had one neighbor on that side, and in front of them was just like a clear field, you know. So there wasn't anyone around. So during that time, Sally and her sister were just kind of like walking around, like they would go on jogs around like the block or whatnot. And one night they were coming back to the house and they started to hear whistling. Like it sounded like it was like right next to them. So of course they turned around like, okay, like who's here at our house?
Yeah.
And they saw no one. So they started walking back up to the house, because the walkway to the house was very long. They had a very long driveway, and then you would turn and get to the house. So they started walking in towards the house, and they heard the whistling again, but this time it sounded closer, and it sounded as if a very tall but like old man was around them whistling. So once again they turned around and they saw no one. So at this point they're already freaking out. It's like, why are we hearing whistling? There's no one around. Our neighbors are pretty much asleep, and their neighbors are pretty much spaced out, so you can't really hear much from them.
Yeah.
So itself was a very, like, the encounter itself was very creepy itself. So they started hearing the whistling again. They turned around and they saw a shadow of a man, and he was snapping and he waved. And the moment they saw that, they started running, and the moment they got to the door, they turned around and the man was gone, as was the whistling. The whistling stopped the moment they got to the house. But that night they could just not sleep because they did not know what just happened. So after that, I was very scared to go back to Sally's house because we did have a lot of sleepovers.
That is very scary.
So we were very afraid to be out at night. But there was just a lot of, you know, uneasiness. Like we would be sitting in the living room and we would hear little knickknacks, not knickknacks, but like tapping on the windows outside. So the moment we would hear that, we'd run to her room. But it was just like a very eerie thing. Like you were afraid to go to the restroom at night because of the long dark hallways. Like you would be afraid of as if someone was going to pop out.
Yeah.
It was just a very like scary place to be at. And when she told me that, I was like, Sally, can we just like stay at my house? But she just told me like there was a lot of, you know, things that happened at the house. There was a lot of there's just a lot of uneasiness from not only Sally and her sister, but like from, you know, all of their family. Like there was just times where they just did not want to be alone. So that was a very scary story that she told me. I was like, we're gonna have to carry flashlights. We're gonna have to carry like a taser,
holy water,
lots of holy water. But yeah, I think that completes all our scary stories
for now.
For now.
If you guys want more, let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up.
Make sure, if you aren't already, to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to turn on your post notifications. That way you get notified every time we post. Once again, if you like this video, leave some comments down below what you thought of our stories.
And if you guys have any other stories that you guys may have encountered or overheard or someone told you,
sound off below.
Yeah,
let us know.
We'll reply, we'll like it, we'll read it, we'll react to it. We'll see. Definitely, and guys, make sure you share these videos that we put on YouTube. Share them, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything that you have. Just share it everywhere. Tell your friends, family, because we do want to make more of these, and we really do want to expand our YouTube family. So please do that, you guys.
Yes, so we hope you guys enjoyed this video once again. We hope you like the creepiness.
Yes.
We will see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.